us. Welcome. If you're returning, welcome back to our orientation episodes we're having here at Schreiner University to get everybody ready for coming in to the fall of August. We're fortunate enough to be able to reach out to y'all and introduce you to different departments and programs and people on campus. Today, starting off, we're talking about our new Texas Center with Dr. Frazier. He'll be joining us. You've already kind of seen up there in the middle of the screen. And he'll be talking about that center. And about 4:30, we'll be jumping on with other learning community directors. And we'll be able to share in those different communities with you. We got Dr. William Woods here also to help talk through what learning communities are and how they benefit you as an incoming student as you're entering this new world of higher education in your college career. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, Dr. Frazier, so you have more time to talk about the center. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today to sharing your program with us. It's brand new for us.
Yeah, brand new for everybody.
So I'll go ahead and let you just jump in and you can start however you want to start introducing your center for us.
Great. One of the things that incoming freshmen need to realize is that Texas is changing. And it's changing, it's going to change dramatically in their lifetime. Some numbers just to kind of get the conversation going. By 2050, it's estimated that the number of Texans will have doubled. So twice as many Texans in 2050 as there are now. So that's just 30 years hence. Freshmen today will be in their middle-age years at the height of their careers. And so they have an opportunity by coming to Schreiner University and participating with the Texas Center and essentially being equipped to lead this change, lead this, this transformation of the Lone Star State. Now, people ask me exactly what we will be doing, and part of what we'll be doing is cultural sustainability. We oftentimes think of sustainability in terms of, say, energy or resources or stuff like that. But this is really about how we take what's good about Texas and prepare it for the future. Essentially, not all of Texas is about yeehaw, as I see over in the chat line. But Texas is kind of a big deal. First of all, it's larger than France. It has a 10th place position in global GDP, and it's about to be the most influential political state in the union. So while you can dismiss Texas as being sort of the caricature that a lot of people attempt, there's actually a lot to learn about Texas, and Texas is going to need the next generation of people to lead it. A lot of other universities have embraced this sort of idea that we're all citizens of the world, and that's great. But I think that there is also a role for people to lead, to learn how to lead, learn how to work within a Texas context. And that's really what the Texas Center is going to be about. So what we'll probably start out doing is creating information, creating educational pieces that we'll use to broadcast to the world at large. And we'll use the Texas Center and the learning community that we foster to create that stuff. So from a practical standpoint, you will be able to learn how to use equipment, use things like teleprompters, learn how to cut together video to make it useful. Most of you guys have probably posted something on YouTube of some stripe or another. Back a few years, it was eating a spoonful of cinnamon. And then lately it was, eating a Tide Pod, which I would recommend against. This is actually using those skills for good rather than evil. And that's kind of what we'll be doing with the Texas Center. So should I answer questions? Should I field questions, or do I need to go on with my monologue?
We don't have any questions yet. If you want to continue on, go for it.
Right.
I know for me personally, it's interesting to have a specific center geared around the idea of Texas and how you're going to pull in Like you were talking about the social media aspect, specifically their connections in Texas and how that expands out. I think it's an important piece, and also an interesting thing that we haven't necessarily had that much of a focus specifically on, and now we will. So that's a pretty cool thing we're having.
Yeah, it's certainly been embedded within the Schreiner strategic plan. And so we're able to put this together kind of from a whole cloth, which is pretty handy. I mean, I've been working at this for the last, 30 years anyway. And so I'm bringing in a host of experience just trying to figure out how to make Texas history relevant, not only in Texas, but also nationwide. And so we've already got a pretty good start on what we're doing. And what is exciting to me is that I will be able to essentially use students, give them practical skills in order to build this material that will then have a shelf life that far exceeds even their time at Schreiner. So it's a way to get a practical way to weaponize your studies, as they say.
Dr. Frazier, will there be any good meals included in the Texas Studies program? I'm a man who's eaten at a few meals with you, and I understand there might be a field trip or two. Tell us a little about the cuisine.
Well, you can tell by looking at me that I have a hard time figuring out where to tie my bow tie because I can't pick a chin. But yeah, I have fed a lot of students in my day, and I have taken students all over the planet, and I plan on doing that exact same thing. My attitude towards Texas is you can find a Texas angle to just about any spot on earth. And so field tripping is a big part of what I like to do. You just learn more about a topic when you actually go to a place. Now, it's not all just history, but it's also culture. And falling into that culture rubric is good chow. I mean, somebody was the first guy to come up with a chicken fried steak, and that's a pretty good story. Music is another part of it. Arts and letters. There's a lot of things about Texas that have a lot of nuance. Yeah, even bacon, maybe even chicken fried bacon. Thanks for that. And so I'm watching the chat line over there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll feed you. I'll take you around the state, take you around the country, take you around the world by the time you guys graduate from Schreiner. It's all part of the experience. That's a great question, William Wood.
So, Dr. Frazier, a little bit about how, I guess, the format of this works. It's a learning community, but is it also a separate Texas Center open for anybody to come in and partake in different activities?
Correct. I mean, the learning community is certainly a pretty traditional academic approach, but within the learning community, we will actually be producing stuff. I mean, there will be deliverables, and these deliverables will then be used to further sort of the message that we're putting out from the Texas Center. The Texas Center will have a studio inside. It'll also have meeting space, an editing room. And so students that are associated with the learning community will find themselves working within the Texas Center a bunch. As far as somebody coming in off the street and taking a look at what's going on in the Texas Center, we're going to have a lot of books, and we're going to have a lot of really cool art, and we'll have meeting space. But I mean, we don't have Ferris wheels or roller coasters or anything else, or something cool like a cavern or a cave. That would be cool to have. And I will not have the smoker going at all times, although, I could be convinced.
Probably not convinced. It wouldn't take much to convince, I think, any of us to have a smoker going over there.
Yeah, no feeling. Wouldn't that be fun that one of the aromas on campus was always hardwood smoke?
That would be a pretty cool thing. It'd keep everybody hungry.
It would keep everybody hungry, but we're going to be strategically located in the heart of campus. So if you're staying on campus, living in the new dorm over at Baldwin, or if you're going to and from any of the athletic fields, you'll be going right by the Texas Center. And we are absolutely visitor friendly. I think we're getting a pretty decent coffee maker in there too. So anybody that already is part of the cohort that must answer to the Dark Lord meat and coffee. I'll always be happy to share a cup of coffee with you and a good conversation.
Awesome.
Dr. Frazier, can you tell us a little bit about the Texas Studies minor as well? Or is that still up and running? We got some classes. Can you put a little pitch in for that for all incoming students?
Absolutely. There's going to be, well, we've always had a Texas Studies minor, or at least for the last 5 years. And the idea was to have a concentration of Texas-centric courses, not just history, but also, like I said, arts and letters. I think there was even a biology course that dealt with Texas vertebrates, otherwise known as white-tailed deer, and the other cast. So Texas Studies is a minor that will be open to any student that comes on campus. And the idea is that you major in something that you really want to pursue as a vocation, or gives you a skill set that you want to pursue, say a business major or even an engineering major, but you have a Texas Studies minor that essentially equips you to engage in the common culture of Texas. Essentially, you'll understand kind of how Texas is pinned together. And it's an unusual place. I just spent a couple of weeks driving through 10 different states. Left Texas, went to Montana, went all the way east to Ohio, and then back to Texas. And I'm going to tell you, Texas is perhaps the best expression of the American experience that you're likely to find within the United States. And as a result of that, and because of that, we need some people that understand that and can become the next generation of caretakers and stewards of that. So yeah, Texas Studies minor is still up and running. I think we're going to make some modifications once I get there and on the ground. And I think I'm going to add, or see if we can add, Ben Montoya's class on the history of Mexico to the Texas Studies minor, because we live so close to the border down there in Kerrville. And I actually grew up on the border and really lived a binational life. And I think that the fate of Texas is forever going to be linked with that of Mexico. And I think it's time that we kind of throw that into the mix as a useful area of study. So we'll add that, and I'm going to go around campus and see what else I can recruit into it. So you'll take a core of classes within the minor, but then you'll have a lot of flexibility on what to tack on to it.
As a learning community, I know a few of them are living learning, or just living, or just learning communities, 1 year, 4 year. How's the Texas Center Learning Community set up?
Well, that's a very good question. And it's because I just don't have my arms all the way around it yet, because I haven't been briefed. But I'll tell you how I've done it in the past at a different zip code. And that is that we met on a regular basis. And what I would have the students do is pick a topic that they wanted to explore and kind of get a 360-degree angle on. And then I would make them become the experts on that, at least expert enough to be able to hold a conversation on camera about it. And so that's probably how I'll run it again. And at the end of the semester, you'll have a 30-minute video that you'll help produce that has to do, well, you will have written it, and then you will help edit it and produce it, and your classmates will also work on it with you and vice versa, so that you have practical experience, but also you've got this exercise where you now have mastered a topic. And by mastering that topic, you all of a sudden have this major league confidence going in to the rest of your college career. Figuring out that you're smarter than you think you are is a very important part of coming to college. And that's one of the things I try to inculcate with my freshmen. And you learn words like inculcate.
We do have a question asking about the minor in Texas Studies. So the question specifically is, when they start talking to an advisor, do they need to let them know they are interested in pursuing at that time a minor in Texas Studies?
Absolutely. Bring it up early and often. And we're moving toward having a capstone experience for our Texas Studies students, where we'll take them on a grand tour of Texas May of their junior or senior year. or is there rising seniors or rising juniors rather, and they'll end up seeing every corner of the state as part of this process. It's a big doggone place, and I'm amazed at people up in the Panhandle that have never been to places like McAllen, Brownsville, or South Poverty Island. I mean, for them, it's a shorter drive to Chicago than it is to places like Brownsville. And so getting students from all over the state to see the whole rest of the state is a critical component of this too. So there's that travel component that we mentioned earlier. But yes, it's in the catalog. It's easy to find in the catalog, and they need to tell their advisors early and often that this is something they want to do.
Would you recommend, if for someone that's say going into specific areas of study, business, marketing, things like that, and they feel possibly that most of their post-graduation work might consist of being in Texas and living in person, and living their life throughout being assistant or a member of a Texas cultural area, of having a minor in Texas, that would be a good fit for supplementing a major in any way?
Absolutely. What I have learned in my 55 years on the planet is that the people that succeed in life often have the best stories to tell. All right, so that seems like such a minor thing at this point when you're 18 and you're looking at the big wide world, but it is very, very useful. And what that means really is being able to have a common culture, essentially be able to tell a story and have people understand the context of the story. My goal is always to be the favorite guy at deer camp. Not because I'm the best shot, or not because I can dress a deer better than anybody else, but because I can hold an audience while we're all sipping beverages around the campfire. And that's kind of part of what a Texas Studies minor will do. That's kind of a byproduct. Yeah, you'll have a lot of content, but you'll also have a lot of context, and you'll also have a lot of contacts. Because one of the things that I will make available to my students is my Rolodex. Oh, that's a 1980s term for your contacts list. Essentially, if I know them, you'll know them. And if we're going to a meeting, I'll take you with me and I'll introduce you. One of the things that you need to get out of a private liberal arts education is a step up in the world. And you need to be introduced around. You need to be shown around. And so that's part of what we'll be doing.
Dr. Frazier, if they were interested in pursuing the learning community, how would they go about signing up or applying? What are the process steps they need to follow?
I am going to defer to my colleague, William Wood, on that.
and watch this. Watch how I hand this off real quick. I'm going to defer to Dr. Goodwin, who's run the successful learning community for the longest time. Matt, don't they just go back to Schreiner, back to the main page and click I'm interested?
Yes. So as you are committed students and you commit to the university, it opens up all learning communities. You're able to go in and you're able to apply for any of them. I believe they're all listed there. You also have direct contact information per each director that you can email and contact directly. So there's a bit of mixture of interactions. Some we get information for applications, some we get through email, some we get through phone calls. You might have contacts from us directly. We might be reaching out to you asking if you're interested in joining the learning community. So there's a lot of ways of communicating back and forth of how to get involved with the learning community. Once that initial conversation and communication is set up between the director and the student, from there the process becomes even easier. Because then you really get to, at that point, if you decide to join the learning community and whatever is set up in place of acceptance of applications and whatnot per learning community, you're a part of that community moving forward. It's not something that we wait until you're step on campus. We start in those interactions with you immediately. So you're already a part of that. So the process itself is fairly easy. I mean, I think everyone has an application piece to fill out, which really just consists of 2 or 3 questions, and it's more of why you'd be interested in being a part of the community. Outside of that, each director might do it a little bit different way, but that's the commonality right there.
And
Dr.
Mr.
Goodwin.
Flores just added in the text channel, what's the benefit? I'll put a bonus in there. I'll give you a free book. I've got a book that's coming out this week, man. I'll give you one autograph. And I won't even make it out to you. I'll just sign it so you can give it as a Christmas present. So there you go. I've got a sign-up bonus.
That's so good.
Dr. Woods, I'm going to defer back to you about the scholarship talk for learning communities.
Great question. So I believe, and we need to check, we'll preface this by saying check with financial aid, but anyone who joins a learning community can qualify up to $1,000 scholarship for something called Dr. Goodwin, it's a participation scholarship, a Mountaineer participation scholarship.
All right, I think I've used my time according to my handlers. So I will entertain any questions anybody has. You can just email me at dsfrazier@schreiner.edu, and I will relinquish the mic to my colleagues.
And I know we're fixing to jump into more other learning community conversations and discussions with our directors. For learning communities, just in general, is one, it is a huge benefit. We kind of mentioned that before. There are a lot of varieties of different learning communities that you can be a part of that fit an interest that you currently have coming in, an interest that fits a major that you're interested in, or an exploration idea of trying to figure out possibly what more you want to do with a specific area of study, or if you're just interested in something and want to expand upon it. There's a lot of different ways that you can explore learning communities initially. Dr. Woods, I see you're unmuted. Would you like to?
I'm back. I'll be here my wife wishes she had that. Somebody else could mute me once in a while. Hey guys, welcome to the second half hour. My name is William Woods. I'm the Dean of Academic Support. I get to oversee the learning communities here at Schreiner University. We have guests with us today, so I will not take a lot of time. And they have probably invited a student or two, a current student or two, and I will let coordinators introduce those students if they want to talk a little bit about the benefits of a learning community. The good news is, as you saw, maybe those of you who were with us the first half hour, learning communities tend to be a very close-knit group. It leads to student success. We find that individuals who take part in learning communities have higher retention rate. They stick around. They have a better experience in college. Their grade point average tends to be a little bit higher. And most importantly, as my friend Dean Huber likes to say, you're meeting lifelong friends, people that may very well be in your wedding someday. So I'm not sure. I see Dr. Wisovix is here. So Chrisanne is here to speak about Vesalius. And then whoever, if Matt and David want to jump in, and I apologize for not being able to see everybody, but let's go ahead and throw it first to my friend, Dr. Chrisanne Musovics, who is an English professor and has a very strong background in something called medical humanities. And she's been with us for a long time running a living learning community entitled Vesalius. Hello, Chrisanne. Are you unmuted?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
Yay, I'm going to mute myself.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Woods. So I do work with the living and learning community called Vesalius, and I see so many familiar names on the list today, so I'm glad to see all y'all. So our group is for students who are exploring health professions, and some of our students come in and they know exactly what they want to do. That's fantastic. Some students come in and they're just kind of exploring where they want to go in health careers. Also, that's fantastic. But I would say the main thing to be open to is to be open to the opportunity. So for example, in the spring, we have clinic visits at the local clinic. We have a series of visit rotations over at the hospital. We've been able to scrub into the surgery suite. We haven't scrubbed into an actual surgery, but we've scrubbed into the surgery suite. We get to see the Da Vinci robot, things like that. And students have the opportunity to surround themselves with folks who are studying the same material, and to surround yourselves with people who have equally ambitious goals, which I would say is one of the top priorities for the students coming in. Is Juan Guerra out there today? Juan, are you out there? I invited Juan today to drop in. I'll see if he drops in along the way. I just wrote his recommendation letter. He's applying to medical school. So that's one of the things that I love about this work is writing recommendations for students to get into nursing programs, writing recommendations for students to apply to PT, OT, dentistry, optometry programs. I love being able to sing your praises, and we have a really nice placement rate. I really enjoy the opportunity to write letters for y'all, so that's great. And I would say too that the current Vesalius people that are coming in, you can attest to the fact that I'm going to keep you informed because I've been sending you registration information today. So tell your other contacts that one way to really stay informed is to get involved in a learning community.
Matt,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. How nice. I feel so official. So that's the good first news. So that's one living community, learning community that we have called Vesalius. I'm actually going to call on my friend Dr. Goodwin now, even though he's got a pretty full group. I think he's only taken one or two more, and that's not just us doing a hard sale. Hurry, a few slots still available. The Mountaineer Leadership Learning Community has been with us for as long as we've been doing learning communities. Isn't that right, Dr. Goodwin?
Pretty close. I think Ace and
Ace came in first, and then you guys were right there at the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Mountaineer Leadership Community?
Well, with the Mountaineer Leadership Community, we focus on leadership, right? It's not a we don't hide anything in the name. It's a 4-year community, so I should throw that out there immediately. It's not a living community. We spend the different semesters up through your senior year focusing on leadership topics of conversation, the different projects that we take on. As a member of the community, there's a lot of skill sets that come with being a part of the community and working with a group of people. There's a lot of team dynamics that is in conversation with the interactions that we have and putting different things together. And, as a leader, you're always going to be working with other people. So we always want to make sure that we're establishing sort of that ground foundational work of what it means to be a leader, what are the different types of leadership and different leadership studies that are out there, and then from there grow into actually doing leadership work and not just spending most of our time talking about it. So at each semester, it's set up in a way where as a community, you get to decide what type of projects you want to start working on. So sophomore year, we focus more on campus. Junior year, we focus more off campus, and into the senior year, you get to focus more on your leadership journey up to this point. Where do you plan to go post-graduation? How do you take everything that you've done within those 4 years and start to develop your own leadership narrative, where if you're going to sit down across the table from someone who asks you what type of leadership experience you have, you're able to speak very well of the different skill sets that you have bringing into those types of positions for whatever it is that you're speaking on. And then the team dynamic component, we spend a lot of time reflecting on how to work with others and how to communicate appropriately with others to get certain things accomplished as a group and not just focus solely on the individual aspects. So we take a full holistic approach towards leadership. But it is a 4-year community, and it's kind of where we're at with that and what we focus on.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. We appreciate that. So I'm going to touch briefly on a few other learning communities, and let me preface this by saying that if you're interested in a learning community, they are absolutely available to you. You need to go back to our main webpage, www.schreiner.edu, and look under Campus Life, and under Campus Life, look under Academics, and living learning communities under Campus Life, and you'll see a choice of all the learning communities that we have. For those of you who are just joining us, the topic is learning communities, living learning communities, and this year, obviously, with our COVID-19 pandemic in place, we're having to move things around a little bit. We're looking at some single rooms. We're always involved in. We want safety for our students, And so the living and learning components are becoming a little bit different, but the learning communities remain the same. And in those learning communities, you'll always be working with a professor in an IDST 1301 class. Some of you got my email over the weekend that talked about the choices of IDST 1301, which is our freshman seminar class. It's the Welcome to College class. And you would work with, for example, you work with Dr. Musovics, or you work with Dr. Goodwin. Very quickly, I'll tell you about the other ones, and then we'll open it up for some questions as well. So our STEM group is for our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students, folks that are interested in those fields. We have a performing arts, living and learning community. Those are the folks that will be working with our theater. They're the creative types, the musicians, the creative types. And then in addition, we have ACE. For those of you who are not sure exactly what you want to major in yet, the ACE Learning Career Living and Learning Community is one that explores different majors and different occupations, different careers. That's taught by our good friend, Miss Thompson. And then you guys, my other learning community helpers, help me out here some. Let me think, Matt. So what am I missing? So there's STEM, there's ACE, there's, our honors program. If you qualify for our honors program, we'd love to have you with our honors program as well. Learning Support Services is a different community. You can talk to Dr. Jude Gallick about that. And then we've heard from our good friend, Dr. Frazier, already to tell us a little bit about the Texas Learning Center. And who am I missing, Matt? Oh, who could it be? That is probably, somebody's gonna be so mad at me. It's like accepting an Academy Award.
The Global Scholars, Dr. Coots Global
Scholars. Thank you, Mr. Woods. The Global Scholars, and these are young folks who want to go travel. They'll work with Dr. Coot, and obviously we had a little hiccup in our travel plans this summer. But the good news is there's Dr. Coot now. Look at him in all his glory. Let's unmute him and let him talk a little bit. And there's Mr. Cunningham. I'm so glad to see you. I'm going to throw it to you. We got plenty of time.
All right, no problem. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm Dr. Coot. I'm a history professor on campus, and I'm the professor of European history here. And I'm running the Global Scholars Living and Learning Community. So we're one of the living communities. So with the Global Scholars, we live together on campus to the extent that's going to be possible this upcoming year. Additionally, we do a lot of stuff throughout the academic year, and so our focus is on international culture and travel. And so during your freshman year, as part of the Global Scholars, we're going to do a lot of stuff on campus and in the local area. And so these are basically just things to show that even though you're out in the middle of Kerrville in the Texas Hill Country, there's a lot of international connections out here and a lot of international history and culture and things that you can do. And so we look to try to get the Global Scholars involved in as much of that as possible. And so kind of one thing that we traditionally do or try to do is go to Oktoberfest over at Fredericksburg, just as one example, just one of many. But our real big selling point, though, is at the end of your freshman year, the Global Scholars go together on a study abroad trip to a location overseas. And so, this is an opportunity that we have broader study abroad programs on campus, but with the Global Scholars one, we take a course specifically linked to it, and we learn a lot about the place and its history and its culture. And then we travel over there. And then the other big benefit, aside from having this special trip, is that as a Global Scholar, you also get a special scholarship that goes toward the trip. So ultimately, you're getting the trip at a cheaper cost than someone who would do a similar trip who's not a Global Scholar. And so it just helps make the trip a lot more affordable because, again, going overseas, if you've ever done it, it's unfortunately not cheap, and so, but it's a much more affordable if you're a member of the Global Scholars, and it really kind of serves as the culmination of everything we do throughout the semester just to learn more about global culture. And so that's pretty much of it. So I'm happy to pass it on to whoever's next.
How about thank you, Dr. Coot. That was from Global Scholars. And now a word from our performing arts learning community, our friend Mr. Cunningham, are you there, sir?
I am. Can you hear me?
You bet.
Can you hear me? Yes? Thumbs up? Okay. Well, hey, everybody. I'm Jeff and Mr. Cunningham, and I'm the coordinator of PALC, the Performing Arts Learning Community. And we're a 5-year-old community. This is my 2nd year. And I want to touch on what Dr. Goodwin said about the relationships. One of the folks a lot of y'all are dealing with right now is Jacob in admissions. He was one of the first PALC students. And then his buddy, Bob Bryant, who was also a graduate of that program, they became best friends in PALC. There's something about the first semester, your freshman year, something about the psyche of that time. The friends you make that semester will be your friends for the rest of your life. And what I see is they look after each other. The early birds wake up the night owls for that 9 o'clock class. The kids who are good at history help those that are good at math, and the ones who are good at math, you know, they fix each other's tires, they keep each other in check, and they become great friends. And that's the reason why I've become a real kind of hardcore advocate for the freshman experience, joining a learning community. In our community, we do focus on the performing arts. However, I do want to put a plug. The performing arts are working with our visual artists on our arts management program. And so if you're into the visual arts or arts management, I want you to consider PALC, because there's a close relationship with the two through management. We are fortunate to have a strong local and regional presence. There's a lot of goodwill in the theaters, art galleries, symphonic organizations in this area and regionally. I'm a little heartbroken. We had a huge trip planned to Austin to see Ballet Austin's Austin Music Project, where local Austin live musicians were working with the ballet to create a new visual arts presentation. And that weekend was going to end with gospel brunch at one of the famous barbecues. And we were going to get a tour of the backstage of a lot of the venues, the large venues like the Long Center and Bass Hall, from some of my old stagehand buddies. But certainly part of the PALC experience is students getting opportunities free to them. We have a lot of goodwill, either through the learning community or through the goodwill of the producers. The Symphony of the Hills, we saw the Italian tenors. We got to see plays, musicals, concerts, and symphonic opportunities, all free of charge to the students, all part of this experience. So we're looking forward to basically doing the same this coming year, hopefully without any kind of pandemic interference. There's a lot of interest. I can say we do have about 5 spots left in our regular population. It might be more than that. We have a couple of students who need to get on the ball and finish out their applications. But if you're interested in the performing arts, and you don't have to be a music major or a theater major, just an interest in the arts. I think that's true of all of the learning communities. It's just an area of your personal academic and social interest. But you can, if you're interested in PALC, just email me directly, jbcunningham@schreiner.edu. We do have a link on the learning community page, and I will email you a PALC application. But if you don't go PALC, learning communities are a must. It's an opportunity. It's a win-win, no lose for a freshman. So
nicely said,
Dr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. And you get to hang out in the theater and do some good work with some theater folks. They're just the funnest. I always call it the Glee group. I think that's not right. Wait, is it Fame? That was my generation. I Want to Live Forever, right? Come on. So we have a moment to introduce a student who has had the chance to be a part of a learning community. Juan Guerrera is a senior. He was in Vesalius. He's now applying to medical school. Juan, are you here right now?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, nice. Can you tell us a little bit? That's right. Can you tell us a few of the benefits about being part of a learning community?
So I think the biggest thing for me is that you're together in a cohort with a bunch of other students who have a similar vision and, for their life or for what they want to pursue as a career. And that really motivates you when when you fail a chemistry test or when you fail that biology test. That really motivates you when you see other students that are also that are not necessarily struggling, but they get you up and boost you and boost your confidence to keep going. And that's really what got me to where I'm at now. And I'm applying to medical school now, something that I never thought I would do.
That's so good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Juan. We appreciate that. I want to make sure we're going to leave some time for questions. I'm going to turn it over to the real moderator of this wonderful discussion, our friend, Dr. Goodwin. But is there a learning community member out there? I just don't see a thing. Is there a learning community member out there that I have not introduced? And if you are, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you. I feel terrible. Maybe I'll turn it over to the professionals, our friend, Dr. Goodwin and perhaps Dr. Huber. But thank you all. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about learning communities, and you can find more information on our webpage. Dr. Goodwin, you want to take it away?
Sure. There was one question that was able to come through before we got interrupted. The question about multiple learning communities and being able to be a part of multiple. In the first year, and correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but in the first year, you have to choose one learning community. And there are reasons behind that. They're all great, and we know you want to be a part of all of them. But in that first year, they're connected to that IDST experience as well. And it's too much to be involved in more than one. Now, I know that, at least for me, I can speak for mine, in that second year and that start of your sophomore year, coming into that area, as you leave the 1 year experience of other learning communities, I do open it up in that semester to be able to join in the leadership one if you're interested in that. I'm not sure if there's other ways of joining learning communities past that first semester or second semester. Have y'all experienced that before?
Dr. Goodwin, I think you can apply for honors. So the learning community in the first year is just that. It's an experience for you. You choose one. You get to choose one learning community, but then a couple of our learning communities continue on. Our friend Dr. Coot is coming up with a plan right now. I think we're going to try and get Global Scholars to be an ongoing learning community as well. But the short answer is, if there was some questions in the chat box which said, can I apply for more than? Can I live in more than one? Our first year, we want you to pick one. And Texas Studies is looking mighty hot right now. Isn't that right, Dr. Frazier? He's muted. We can't ever let him talk again.
I know in past, another concern that usually comes up, or question that I get is the athletes of, if they're an athlete, can they be a part of a learning community? Do being a part of a learning community interfere with practices or games or things like that? And that comes up sometimes a lot. As far as I know, there's no restrictions that are out there that says no, you can't be an athlete. You can be. We encourage for you to be involved in everything you want to be involved with. I know that at least for mine specifically, with scheduling and things like that comes up, we work around student schedules the best that we can as a community, and that's part of being a part of the community and working together to make it work for everyone. But I know that does come up, everybody, with the athletes. I don't know if y'all have anything else you'd like to add. No? Okay. Trying to think off the top of my head of other questions. I know another one I get sometimes is the time commitment piece, because there is a little bit more time commitment when you, I know just in general, when you apply yourself to a specific group. So again, with mine, we try to schedule around other people's scheduling, things like that. But there are specific, times within the semester where you can't get everything done inside of a classroom. And part of the experience is, that kind of time management and how do you share and compromise and work together to get things done. So there is a little bit of that, but I think that comes with joining any group and committing to being a part of a group. So you should expect that a little bit. I don't know if y'all want to speak to that.
Yeah, Dr. Goodwin, I'll add too that for a lot of the students that I work with who are knowing that they have med school applications coming up or nursing school applications coming up, and they want to make sure to focus on their academics. And maybe their folks or their friends or their siblings are saying, oh, only do academics first semester, set your GPA, only do academics. I want to say that being in a learning community supports your work in the academics. So it's really an enhancement to that experience. It's not an overwhelming social commitment where we have you over-programmed outside of class. And our learning community students tend to have a higher GPA overall. So I wanted to just kind of throw that out there, that even though I totally agree with your points, that I do agree with your points, that all of that involvement actually winds up boosting your connection and your involvement and your GPA. So come on.
It really does. There's a lot to be said for that, the peer-to-peer support that's established within learning communities. You quickly realize when you step on campus that you're not going to be doing this alone. And a learning community definitely helps in supporting that idea. So.
Absolutely,
Hey,
just like Juan had
Goodwin,
mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Christian.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Woods, just like Juan had mentioned, that everybody's going to tank something during the first semester. And when you're surrounded by other people who are in it with you, those are the folks that keep pressing and keep going and keep trying and build that grit and resilience. And that's really what's going to get you through.
Dr. Goodwin, can I shift gears just for a second? I've gotten a few emails about registration, freshman registration, and I know there were some questions about that. Here's the short answer is you have a faculty advisor. A summer faculty advisor has now been assigned to you, and you will have either heard from them today or you will hear from them tomorrow. Wednesday is our registration for first year. That's you guys, first year students coming in, and you will have an advisor who's going to contact you. Dean Davis tells me that faculty advisors are contacting incoming freshmen, setting up a time, and together you will go on Schreiner 1, or you'll figure out a schedule, and they'll give you instructions on how to register for your classes for the fall semester. I hope that helps. I know there's a lot of questions about that, and with good reason. Wednesday is when freshmen begin registering, incoming freshmen, and you have a summer faculty advisor who's been assigned to you and who will contact you. Watch your email and answer your phones.
Please.
Starting at 8 a.m. on Wednesday.
Yeah, and go ahead and start thinking about it now. Talk with your parents, talk with older siblings, talk to anybody to kind of help talk. Have that conversation of your interests. What you're interested in studying. If you don't know, go ahead and look online. You've got the course lists available to you through just the academic page on our website. You can start looking over all the different course offerings that we have on our campus. The more information you can have going into the conversation, the easier the conversation is to have as far as connecting you to the right courses and getting you started in the right direction when you come on campus. So if you have time, I would encourage you to do that. It makes the conversation a lot easier. The learning community piece, I believe, with some assistance from us, you are identified as being a part of the learning community piece. Everyone takes the IDST class, and we kind of help make sure that you're in the right IDST class associated with the learning community. So if that comes up, make sure that if you're already in the learning community, make sure that you're letting the person you're talking to know. It's probably going to be us. I'm assuming it might be. If not, then make sure that that's in the conversation. But we'll follow up to make sure everybody's in the right spot. So.
There is an attendance survey that we will also email out, and if you'll fill that out, that would be helpful as well.
Okay, especially if we didn't get to any of your questions, the survey allows you an opportunity to ask more questions specifically to your needs, and we will make sure to get those to the right people if we're not able to answer those. But make sure you fill out that form so we can get those questions answered for you. So again, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time. appreciate you joining us today. We're back Wednesday. We'll be talking. Oh, I had that pulled up, and with all the distraction, let me pull it up again. We'll be talking about changing global society, study abroad, and campus recreation. So look forward to that.